right, good afternoon, candidates. I'm Judge Thomas Pfeiffer. I'll be your moderator for today. And I just want to start off just by saying thank you to both of you for running. I was thinking about this the other day, and I just wanted to ask you to consider it just for a moment. But I was thinking the other day, what if we woke up in America one day where everybody just decided, maybe public service is not for me, and nobody ran? What would that look like? What would the landscape look like locally or on the state level or federally? It would be bad. It would create a vacuum, and I don't think any of us would like what that result would be. So again, thank you for stepping out and running and being a candidate, stepping out, offering yourself in public service. Much appreciated. And thank you for being here today to offer the voting public information. I always say the best voter is a well-informed voter, and this is part of that process. So again, thank you. I want to introduce our candidates running for mayor of Manvel. First is Councilwoman Lorraine Hain and Mr. Dan Davis. And here are our rules. The rules are that each candidate will have 5 minutes to give an opening statement. There'll be a 30-second warning from our timekeeper right over there, and the red time warning sign will indicate that you have 30 seconds remaining in that time slot for that given question or opening statement. For every question, you'll have 2 minutes to respond, and for every person who opens, and then there'll be a response from your opponent, the person who opened has a discretionary one minute reply if requested. Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair.
All right. We'll start off with our opening statements of 5 minutes. Again, our timekeeper will be over here. We'll start with Mr. Dan Davis.
Well, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Dan Davis, and I am running to be the next mayor of Manvel. I just want to say, first off, thank you so much to everybody that's been involved in making today happen. I truly appreciate it. And I want to start off with just telling y'all a little bit about myself. I've been married to my amazing wife, Erica, for almost 12 years now, and she's here in the audience with me. We have 2 kiddos, Caleb, who turns 9 this year, and our daughter, Kira, just turned 7 in February. 6 years ago, we moved to Manvel, and it's where we bought our first home. It's where we've planted our roots, and it's where we're raising our family, and it's a special place to us. My wife and I, we got married whenever I was 18 and she was 20. We went to Bible college together, and then after graduating Bible college in Dallas, my wife actually gave birth to our first son. And then whenever my wife was pregnant with our daughter, we moved to Japan, where we were missionaries for almost a year. That's actually where my daughter was born, and a lot of people ask, is she a dual citizenship? And I say no, Japan does not allow that. But we moved back to America after a year there, and we really wanted to find somewhere to settle down. We wanted some stability for our family, a safe place to raise our family. My wife was born and raised in Houston, but I moved around a lot in my life. And so we chose Manvel. We bought our first home. I went back to college, graduated from Oral Roberts University with honors. And then at the same time, we just started to get involved, connected, and really engaged with the community. We started partnering with local organizations such as the Well Food Pantry, Manvel Community Outreach, and others as a way to give back and connect. And ultimately, that led to me running for an open council seat in 2019, where I served for 3 years, and it was the honor of a lifetime. What I believe is that Manvel needs a mayor that can step in on day one and be somebody that they can trust, that can be somebody that they can not only walk the walk, but also talk the talk. When I say that I'm committed to cutting taxes while still funding essential services, I have a track record of doing that very thing and fighting for that. When I say that I support our men and women in blue and everybody that is a first responder in law enforcement, I have a track record of doing that. We implemented a development pay program. We worked with Chief Traylor to project out what the future needs are going to be for law enforcement in our city. Councilman Jason Albert and myself also worked to secure CARES Act funding and ARPA funding that was used to provide essential resources to law enforcement, public works, and others. When I say that I'm going to support our local businesses, that I'm going to make sure our roads get fixed, drainage is improved, when I say that I'm going to listen to you and be your voice in City Hall, I have a track record of doing that. So throughout this campaign, we've knocked on doors, we've knocked on over 250 doors, and really listening to the people. What are your ideas? What are the things that you want to see? And one of the things that we hear is that we all understand Manvel's changing. It's inevitable. Times change. But as we change, we need to not lose what makes Manvel so special. So here's what I say. We need to maintain our values and maintain what we have. We don't need to be like Pearland or Alvin, League City, or Sugarland. We just need to be Manvel. We all chose here. We all either moved here or were born here and have stayed here for a reason. And we need to not lose sight of that. I also say that we need to fight to ensure that there is accountability and transparency in City Hall. One of the things that I pushed for hard when I got on council was that our city meetings would be live streamed, and we were able to do that. And I think there's a lot more opportunities to continue to be transparent, accountable, and accessible. And the last thing I'll say is that it's going to take all of us working together to put together our vision for the future. It's not the city dictating to the people, but it's each and every resident, each and every business owner, everybody that works, plays, or calls Manvel a home, putting together a cohesive and comprehensive vision. We shouldn't be growing just because our city slogan is City on the Rise. It needs to be methodical. It needs to be deliberate. And that's what I'm committed to doing. So in closing, today with my opening statement, look, Manvel, you guys as a community have given so much to my family and I. You've been there to celebrate with us in our highs, and you've taken care of us in our lows. And as mayor, I want my service, if I get the opportunity to serve, just to be a way to give back to you, to take care of you, and to make sure that government works for you and not against you. So I appreciate y'all, and I look forward to answering the questions that come today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hay.
Thank you so much, Judge Pfeiffer and the Manvel Police Association for this platform. Forgive me. So this is a very exciting time in the city of Manvel. We have 11 candidates seeking to be in our city council and seeking office right now. And I know that we are all very grateful for this event, for the opportunity for all of us to come together to share our visions and our experience for this growing city. We're very grateful. We're very excited. My name is Lorraine Hain, and I am a 17-year resident of Manvel, and I have served the Manvel citizens faithfully on council for the last 8 years. My husband and I, we've been married 27 years. We raised all 3 of our children here in Manvel, Texas. We're extremely proud of them. They are our pride and joy. And my primary role, no secret, is to be a wife and mother. My leadership for the city has been strengthened because I have always put my husband and my family first. Their support has been extremely vital to me to lead this city and to guide it to where it is today. And in 2012, I've been very involved in the local community. I was asked to participate in many city meetings early on, primarily Planning, Zoning, and Development Commission. And all the relationships I've made on those boards have led to several other city appointments and for cities and for boards. Partly the Charter Commission I was asked to be a part of, the Comprehensive Planning Steering Commission, and currently I do sit on Manvel Economic Development Corporation. And with all this experience and knowledge at the time, in 2015, I was prompted to run for office by a variety of residents from various parts of the city, from rural, subdivision, business. At that time, they all believed and still believed at that time that all of their voices were not being heard, and the city as a whole was asking for new blood. The citizens elected me that year, and the city has been fast growing ever since. Manvel is not projected to slow down anytime soon. So right now, it's extremely imperative that people know what the path the city is going on so that they can decide for themselves what part of Manvel is going to be fitted for them. And in 2015, I was elected based on 3 major challenges that we're facing, a few others, but 3 majors. One of them was careful managed growth. Slow, methodic, where were we going to go? And people at the time were very much afraid of what might be coming. And I live in subdivision now. And even we, the subdivisions, were concerned of what we would be, what development was coming to Manvel. And also the rural Manvel proper now, we're very concerned not only with the lack of growth, but what type of growth. In connecting with citizens, I realized that we all have different concerns on how and what would we be giving up to keep that mix of subdivision and rural. And with that same sense of planning back then, a forward-thinking council was able to guide major economic development closer to the masses, and that's closer to 288, to keep up with Manvel proper rule, giving them time to adjust, to make sure that they knew whatever was coming, it would be an easy fix. Secondly, it would be large civic areas and green space. And it's always been part of the plans to secure that public area that we can gather outside of the subdivision. Because for years and still now, the city still is lacking in gathering spaces. From having parades in selective subdivisions and limited gatherings in our only park, which is Croy Park. Croy Park is really a county park in between 2 large subdivisions. Public space is something that is very well needed. And it took us a while to do it, but we did. We have secured, obtained, and planned for public space outside the subdivisions for all to enjoy in the city, and that soon is going to be a reality. 3, public safety. And I know our police and our staff are very appreciative of what we've done to give them the necessary equipment and resources so that we can keep up with what is coming and what is here. And every year, we have primarily given them everything that they need and made it a priority. Right now, we do our best to know, and we all know, that it is still not enough. Today, it is not enough what we're doing for them. The citizens deserve to be proud of their public safety and how it's handled, how they're housed, having the best updated, relevant safety training and best updated state-of-the-art resources to do what is best for us. We have a great chief, he's hired well, and we're very proud of what the police do. The new police facility has been a long time coming. We are ready to serve. And so now, my long history with the community in the city of Manvel, it comes with previous and relevant experience. Knowing, implementing, and understanding how the city operates, the laws that govern us, the relationships it takes to get us in a full collaborative council so we can keep engaged and keep Manvel moving forward, because it is not an option to stay still. And my name is Lorraine Hain. I am the Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Manvel. I'm asking for you to vote for me because I am proven leadership, experience, and results to keep it moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you both. And I want to ask Ms. Hain to lead off in our first question. And the question is, given existing budget constraints, how would you stretch the taxpayer's dollar to provide better health insurance and benefits for city employees? 2 minutes.
I don't know that we have a lot of budget constraints because the city council together, we decide, as I mentioned, what our priorities are. Public safety is a priority. It is what it is. And it takes a council to be unified to give direction to the city manager and to the city staff to find out where is going to be the best way to fund it. Now, we cannot fund, we would have to cut something or move anything around. That is a possibility. We do it all the time for different things. And it is really just incumbent upon the council to just give that direction to the city manager and the staff to find how we're going to be able to do it. It takes a collaborative council. It takes 4 out of the 7 of us to come together. I am only going to be 1 vote on council. So it really does take a collaborative effort to find it and make it a priority.
Fair enough. Mr. Davis.
Thank you for this question. We don't have a budget constraint. There's $33 million that are sitting in a savings account that the city can tap into at any point in time. The city of Manvel just raised taxes on the average resident by $200 last year alone because they didn't lower the tax rate. They kept the tax rate the same. If the city manager can get his health insurance covered for him and his family, I believe that it's right to do it for every single city employee. During my time on city council, there was an idea brought forward to cover emergency services, emergency room visits for our city employees. We passed that, we got that done. I think there's more to do there. I think the important thing is that as a city council, as a mayor, we have to not just listen to the city manager, but we have to listen to city employees. We have to work with the association. We have to work with the department heads to determine what are your needs and to make sure that we prioritize the money properly. And that's really what it comes down to. My background in finance that I have lends some experience there. When you look at the budget, and if you take a business owner perspective to the budget as well, there's a lot of fluff that's there. And I think we can do a better job to make sure we're prioritizing the needs of the city employees and of the community. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to see city employees leave and go elsewhere, and we lose that valuable experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, if elected, what 3 steps would you take to put the city of Manvel on a firmer financial footing? We'll start with Mr. Davis.
That's a phenomenal question. One of the things that I would like to see happen first and foremost is that the budget conversations start earlier in the year. Up to this point, the budget gets presented in August in City Council, and as myself and Ms. Lorraine here can attest to, you got 2 quick months to figure it out. But if you start to have conversations and strategy sessions, if you start to work through it, if you start to bring in key stakeholders earlier in the process, as myself and Councilwoman Nicole Tyson fought to do, then you can have more time to dig into the weeds. Because if you don't address the weeds, then they're going to grow out of control and they're going to ruin your flower bed. I'd also like to form, with this question, a budget oversight committee made of citizens that their job is to work with the finance director and work with city council and the city manager to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. And the third thing that I'll say is we need to make sure that the people's voice is involved. that we understand what their needs are and we're prioritizing their needs within the budget. We can't just keep issuing debt without voter approval that's causing taxes to go up. No matter how good and justified the cause might be, we have to bring people in and let them have a say as to what they need, which is why I'm committed to holding quarterly town halls, holding monthly open door meetings, making sure that our business owners, their employees, the community members, the organizations all have a say. I think there's a lot more that we can do with the budget. There's a lot more accountability and transparency, such as doing things like a dashboard on the city's website that gives people the tools to see what's going on. But those are probably my three things that I would answer there. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, the question is, what 3 steps would you take to put the city of Manvel on firmer financial footing? Councilwoman Haynes.
I do want to go back to a little bit of the previous question. And taxes are not right. We have not raised taxes. We've actually gone down in taxes for the last few years that I have been on council. So the 0.57 that we're dealing with and the calculations that you're coming up with, however they're coming up with, they are not, if they are even the average, again, we have not raised taxes in years. And we have a very healthy budget. And we definitely have, not only are we conservative, we make absolutely sure that we have funded everything that they have asked for, every department that comes through the department head. The way our budget process working, then I don't disagree that we could start sooner, and that's not something that is unheard of. But we have been able to fund everything that our departments have asked for, including police, over a course of time, even sometimes in the middle of the years. Because again, we do have a healthy fund balance, and we should keep it that way. That's how you plan for the future. But we have not consistently raised taxes. We have not raised taxes at all in many, many years. And it's going to stay that way because of how the city is being planned. So go to that. And now the things to keep us on financial footing, we're in an excellent place. I don't see, because of how this council has projected the future, how we have taken advantage of things to make sure that we are getting ahead of things like infrastructure, buying land, facilities, planning for our police. We're getting to where, and have always been in a good spot to where we can pass these things easily. We listen to people constantly. The cities are absolutely open. All of our stuff is transparent. So the idea that we are doing anything behind closed doors, not true.
All right, our next question. As financial custodians of the city's taxation, what are your plans to minimize tax increases while maximizing city services offered? Councilwoman Haynes.
Well, again, keeping our budget very conservative, hiring the very best people that we have to make sure that what they're presenting to the council, mind you, this position specifically is one of 7. There are 7 of us that have to come together that are volunteers that get a small stipend that was voted to us. We are by no means experts in our areas. We bring things to the table, that knowledge from either the community, knowledge from our backgrounds in some areas, but yet we are one of 7 to make sure that whatever we're doing for the collaborative. And so we hire people that come in to help us decide these kind of things. So on top of that, we have planned years ago to bring in major economic development into the city, knowing 2 things. The only way that you can keep taxes down is you can cut services, or you can bring in money. You can bring in economic development. You have to bring in sales tax or some sort of revenue to come in to offset those things. There are no other ways to cut taxes. If you cut taxes just to randomly do it, you are definitely doing one of those 2 things. And people right now do not want less stuff. They need pipes in the ground. They need economic development. They need police. They need all kinds of ways to bring in the city. So we have planned that economic development. It is on its way. It has been secured. We did this way before. Our 160-acre development is bringing in major economic development, not just from revenue-bearing fields, but we also have plenty of green space that's being planned, and it's going to be planned by the people, the city. They're coming in. They're going to tell us what they want to do with their place that's all for them, but our major development is going to be around the 288 development of the 160 acres.
And the question focuses on plans to minimize tax increases while maximizing city services offered. Mr. Davis.
Absolutely. Thank you for this question. Look, y'all, your taxes are going up. They've been going up. And unless we stop this, they're going to continue to go up. Just because you don't raise the tax rate, or just even when you cut the tax rate, doesn't mean that you're cutting the amount that you pay in taxes. Because of the appraisal district and because of the city, the average Manvel resident saw their taxes increase by $200 this past year alone. The current taxpayers of Manvel, it says it, you can look on the city's budget. The city is bringing in $1.4 million more in revenue from existing residents this year than the previous year because of the tax rate that was adopted. That's something that the council and mayor have direct control over. And while we've seen our taxes go up, we see road funding decrease by $60,000. We see the chief trailer, the police chief, ask for 8 new patrol officers in the budget, but only get approved for 1. So we can say that the budget's all fine and dandy, but y'all, it's not. The needs are not being prioritized. You drive down Dogwood, Tankersley, you go down Clark, you drive along Mississippi, you go and you take down Wilson or Lewis, and man, it's rough. So here's a few things. I think we need to reprioritize some of the allocations in the budget to make sure that we fully fund the essential services, that our roads are getting done, that our ditches are being cleaned, and our public works employees are doing a great job with what they have, but look, they've been asked to do more with less. Now, how do you do that in correlation with not raising the tax rate? Well, one, I think that there should be a charter amendment that says that if the tax rate is going to be adopted above the no new revenue rate, it has to go to the voters for approval. I think you have to support our local businesses, not shut them down. You can't take a proactive approach to code enforcement because as you keep our businesses open, that produces additional sales tax. I think there's a lot of ways to do this, and I'm committed to working with city staff and the community to make sure that we have the money needed to fund our essential services. Thank you.
The city of Manvel has a reputation among builders and residents who wish to build on their own land as being onerous, expensive, and extremely slow in the process. What plans, if any, do you have to make it easier on landowners to build? Mr. Davis.
This is a phenomenal question. And I was a part of a petition committee that worked on bringing forward an ordinance change to city council that would actually help. Because for years, residents have been going to city council. They've been expressing their frustrations and the difficulties and the red tape and how they can't build their dream home in Manvel because the city is making it too hard. And this petition that I helped to work on, I didn't lead the petition, but was honored to be a part of it. It actually makes it easier, makes it more streamlined. Because look, you have big developers that come in and they've got to be held to certain standards. But it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. A family of 5 that bought 5 acres, that wants to build a home on their 5 acres, wants to be a part of the community, wants to shop at our local businesses, wants to be involved in the green spaces that we have, it's so tough for them to do that. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to engage our buildings commission. I'd like to, as I've been talking about this whole time, bring people into the conversation to look at ways that how we can separate out between what big developers have to do versus what just a mom and dad and their family want to do. Because that reputation's gotta change. We need to have a reputation, and I desperately desire for our city to have a reputation that we're for the people, that we're here to work with you. We understand that we might not be perfect as a city, but we're willing to listen, and hey, let's make some tweaks and adjustments. Let's see what works. We can't just come down with an iron fist all the time and say, no, no, no. We got to find ways to say yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hay.
Well, the law right now, because of the petition process, prohibits somebody that is sitting on council to speak for or against any petitions. So if you'll forgive me, I cannot speak on that for legal reasons. However, concerning how we develop 5-acre tracts, it is already in our subdivision ordinances that we allow people all the time to build on 1 to 5-acre tracts. The variance process, when people come and they ask for help concerning how they're going to build, that's already been in the system. It works just fine. People come up to us all the time. We grant variances all the time concerning how to help them build on their land. Now, people who come and build single-family residences, not a problem. It might have been some sort of idea out there that we were difficult or are difficult. From the city perspective, not so. There are laws that everybody has to follow. There are ordinances that have to be applied. There are variances that can be granted. It just depends on what is it that you need. You come to the city, we help you out. Sometimes the answer is no. When you build, in a growing city, you're always going to have these kind of overlapping things, but we aren't really known for that city anymore. We've done a lot of things to make it a lot easier for people to build on their small lots on their own. And the differences between both, yes, major development, they have definitely not different standards, the same, but we have more control over the larger developments because, again, we get to give or take on what is best for the city and what they will leave behind in good standing with all of us. Thanks.
The city of Manvel does not provide benefits that offer the city's police department to, let me start over with that. The city of Manvel does not provide benefits that offer the city's police department to comparable or nor competitive in regards to recruiting. It does not offer the police department shift differential pay, equipment allowance, bilingual pay, education pay, field training officer pay, cadet program, take-home vehicle program, or 50% pay medical, dental, vision for officers' dependents. What would your plans be to make the police department comparable and competitive in the areas mentioned in order for more effective recruitment and long-term employment retention to occur? Councilwoman Hain.
Again, I go back to having a collaborative council that believes that that is important. I believe the council that we have today believes that what we offer to our PD is extremely important. That's why every year it has been a priority. Every year we've done something to either encourage and or give or tell the chief, we need more. What else do you need? What else can we do? Is this all you're going to need right now? These are conversations that not only happen at least twice a year, but especially during budget season. Everybody comes to us and they say, this is what we need. And for police specifically, they come to us, the chief does, I'm sure he's a very conservative, however he comes to us with the things that he needs, but he definitely comes out to give us some sort of idea very clearly about what he can do to make us more competitive. And so the best that we can do with this council, being on the same page, is to give that direction. What else can we do for you? What else can we do to make us competitive? How are we going to bring more police here? It is no secret that we are all fighting amongst all local government across the state to get the very best police that we can get here. And it takes benefits. It takes getting them here to test. It takes having a better building for them to work out of. It takes a council that is going to be giving them what they need and giving that direction, again, to say, hey, pay them. What do you need? How can we get them here? And that's the process that we use.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
This is a great question, and my answer would be I think we need to do all of those things. But the reality is we're not going to be able to do all of them at once. So it takes working with Chief Trailer, it takes working with the police department, working with the association to say, how do we prioritize this? And how do we give you the tools and the resources, not just to keep the great officers that we have, but recruit new officers in? Look, the reality is across America right now, it is getting hostile between communities and law enforcement. But we don't see that in Manvel. I don't want to see that in Manvel. So it's going to take listening and it's going to take understanding, because I'm not an expert in law enforcement. I don't claim to be so, but I try to work hard every day to listen to people. And what we've seen up till this point, unfortunately, is that the police chief will ask for things, but he's not given what he asks for. I mentioned it earlier. He asked for 8 new patrol officers and was only given 1. He presented a development pay program, or he had worked on it behind the scenes, and it wasn't until myself and another council member basically called it to the red carpet during a council meeting that we actually got to see that. And it was a phenomenal program that is heading in the right direction, but I think there's a lot more to do there. I think there are big steps that need to be taken. And one of the things that I'm proud of is during my time on council, I brought forward a budget amendment that would allocate $30,000 to do a market salary study to show, based off of just pay alone, not the other benefits, just pay alone, where are our officers at compared to, I believe it was 12 different cities in our general vicinity. And it showed that they were well below average. Steps are being taken to get them up to where they need to be, but I think that needs to be aggressively taken. And there's a lot to do. And I look forward to the opportunity to work with our association and our police department to implement the right things that you guys need. Thank you.
May I respond to that?
Sure.
So the police has always gotten everything that they needed. If it came from the chief, It is very rare, if not ever, that we have said, no, we cannot do it. We've always asked for more, even when he asked for that. And in both opportunities, in both instances, that we did speak about A, the salary survey, and B, the STEP program, I brought it in one council agenda and it was passed on the spot. We don't discuss it. We don't put it behind. We don't have to wait a long time. This council purposely and decisively decided we're paying them now. And we don't drag these things on in the city. And so the idea that we just you brought it up and then you waited, no. It was brought up, it came on an agenda, we passed it. And so I don't ever want the city or even the association or anybody out there to think that we just push it aside to wait and see. We act very decisively on public safety, and we're very proud of that.
All right, next question.
Yeah.
What are the most pressing issues in the office that you are seeking, Councilwoman Hayden? What are the most pressing issues in the office you are seeking?
I think the pressing issue that we have right now, or that I would have walking in, is that we need to be more engaged with staff inside the walls of the city council. I think that what we're going to have to do moving forward, because for many years I've kind of watched it go through. Staff did what they did. We are charter ruled. That means that it is not our prerogative, no matter what we say outside of this room, that we, individuals, as volunteers, are allowed to go into department heads and all of a sudden start shuffling things around. We hire a city manager under contract, negotiated, same thing with the city attorney. So we have to be very careful about how we cross those lines. All of our direction goes to city manager. And recently, we have not allowed an extension, this council, for the city manager. We've had the same city manager for over 12 years. It's time to take a direction. So the challenge is going to be, and I don't think it's going to be a challenge. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have to open up our minds, and I'm going to have to guide a council to open up our minds together to get our next hire to be somebody who's going to take us a little bit bigger. Because right now he's taken us, did a great job up to the 17,000 that we have. We're going to be 30,000 in the blink of an eye. The challenge is going to be just making sure that we're opened up to get somebody who's going to help us go to that next level. That's the biggest challenge right now.
All right, Mr. Davis.
This is a great question. I would say there's three areas. What are some of the pressing areas or needs that the mayor is responsible for? So one is engaging with the community and the public and city employees, city staff. I would like to see there be quarterly town halls, there to be a monthly newsletter that's a collaborative effort between council, city manager, and the mayor. I'd like to see there be monthly meetings, open door meetings to really engage. Mayor Davison started in 2019 a drainage forum that was held that year, and I would like to see that continue, where we work with key stakeholders in the community and in the county to make sure that the needs of the community are addressed. The second thing that I would see as a pressing need of the mayor is to make sure that you facilitate a collaborative and cohesive discussion amongst council members. I think the community deserves to know where each council member stands on the issues, especially as the elected officials, and that's the way I conducted my business while I was on council. I'd like to see the mayor facilitate more of that public conversation. And the third thing I would like to see the mayor start to do is to establish committees and task forces to be able to bring people in from the community and allow them to have a key role. In 2019, the Parks and Recreation Board was disbanded by City Council. I think it needs to be re-engaged. The Capital Improvement Advisory Committee was defunct and was in violation of state law. We re-engaged that, but I think they need to be engaged more frequently. I'd like to see EDC and work with EDC to start to take more of an active role in the economic development. And the mayor has a key role to play in that. So those are three things that I would like to see coming from the mayor's office, whoever holds it in the future. Thank you.
May I rebuttal?
Yes, 1 minute.
Okay. I don't say that I disagree with a couple of things. We were disbanded on the Parks Recs Board because at the time they do serve their purpose. They gave us a plan. They gave us, from the community, all engaging people came together. They gave us a plan. We've looked at that plan. It's still an active plan, just giving an idea of what the community want concerning our Parks Department. So disband, a little strong. I believe that Deborah Davison has done an excellent job with our commissions and our boards, with all of her appointments, engaging an entire council, because when she came into mayorship, ultimately, it was something that had to definitely be revised when it came to our decorum. So she's an excellent leader, definitely love everything that she's done. She has gauged us completely. So all of us that get our voice there are great voices to have. And I do want to put out there that because of her, we are the collective and cohesive council that we are today.
Thank you. And your next question is, if you received a $1 million grant with no strings or stipulations attached for the city of Manvel, what would you do with it and why? Ms. Lorraine Hain.
Drainage. Continue to improve drainage, because that is one of the things that are going to be very hard to address. Right now, we currently have a great drainage project going on the other side of Masters Road and Highway 6, where we have 110 acres that we are now cultivating in order to move water as much as we can off of Highway 6 and most of rural Manvel. But if we had to get that kind of money, no strings attached, that would be one of the first things to do, is to continue to work on that in areas that are always going to struggle. And it's probably something in certain areas that we will not be able to get collaborative efforts with developers to get, because in certain areas we're able to get developers to help us with drainage in the more areas that they build. But in some areas of town, we're always going to have to either be improving it, staying on top of it, making sure that we can come up with the latest engineering along with the CNR3 district to make sure that we stay on top of that. And that would be my first thing to do.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, this is a great question. So Manvel doesn't have a great track record with grants. First and foremost, we've lost out on a lot of grant funding over the years, and I think that needs to change. I'd like to see 3 areas, and I'll talk in specifics with you guys. So the first area that I'd like to see is for our police department. I know that there's some resources that are needed, body cameras, drones. There's additional resources to hire officers that I'd like to give them the tools that they need there. The other areas, our roads are in an abysmal shape. Back when I was on council, we were told by the city manager and by the city council that I was a part of, that there's a list of roads. Don't worry, y'all, there's a list. We'll put your road on the list. But there wasn't a true list. There was a list that had been submitted to the county, but there wasn't a list of roads that what we were going to do. So I worked with the assistant city manager and put together and started the process, and they were able to finish it, a street maintenance program. It was presented in May of 2022 to city staff. It then took, I don't know why, so many months until October of 2022 to present it to council. That plan needs to be aggressively implemented and executed because we need to fix our roads. It impacts our day-to-day lives. It impacts our first responders. It impacts our police department, our public works. Every person that drives through Manvel, it impacts them. And the third that I would like to see is drainage, specifically in the areas that we have control. There's a lot of things that can be done there. There's drainage issues along Old Chocolate Bayou and Leedy Estates. There's drainage issues on Cemetery and other areas that can be addressed. And I think we just need to work through it a little bit more, those specifics of how we can do the drainage, and work with the county and the drainage districts to make those happen. Thank you.
Yeah, I read all that.
Sure, you have one
Okay.
minute.
Well, in grants programs, it has been passed by council that before, there was a time when grants were in front of us as council. And that was the normal process. We would get grants, we would all look at them, we would decide if they were for us or not. But ultimately, this council passed a document and passed a policy within our city that gives all of the grant control to our staff, which is our city manager. Not my favorite thing to do, to be honest with you. It was something that was brought up by Mr. Davis and Mr. Albert that decided that it was a good idea for them to do that. And so now we are not going to have control over that for a while, because in that document, it gives full control to the staff, number one. Number two, I go back to what I said. We give police everything that they need when they ask for it. So using that grant money, if we were to get it, $1 million, no strings attached, I would still stay with what I said about making sure that it stays with drainage, because that is always going to be the most costly thing that we face. Just for clarity.
All right, the next question is, the police department was found to be 18% below the 50th percentile range of the surrounding market medians during the city's recent salary survey. The city approved a 7% increase in salary across the board that benefited all employees except police personnel. After the conclusion of the salary survey, the police department is now, on average, 31% below the surrounding market median due to a 20% average increase in salary of other city police departments. What are your plans to bring the police department's salary range into the 50 to 75 percentile range in order to remain competitive? We'll start with Mr. Davis.
Appreciate this question. The police have been behind in regards to pay for the last 8 years, and they'll continue to be behind unless we change the status quo. And that's what I'm committed to doing. The money's in the budget to do this. The money is in the budget to increase the employee pay. There was a flat 7% given across the board, which I don't agree with. I think the city manager, whose total compensation package is close to $400,000 a year, getting the same amount of raise as one of our patrol officers who's barely making $60,000 a year and who's behind versus comparable cities, that's not fair. That's not fair to our law enforcement officers. That's not fair to other city employees. That's not fair to the community. And that needs to change. I think we have some great opportunities to do that. I think the money is in the budget. And I would love to work with the association to determine what, again, are your needs. In a previous question, there was listed a lot of different things that the police department would like to have that have desperately been needed that obviously haven't been addressed by city council. So I'm committed to listening to you, to working with you, and to prioritizing what your needs are to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hay.
Give direction to the city council staff and the staff. That is how we get things taken care of. You get a collaborative council together. They hear our needs, we hear their needs. We hear it either through our chief, we hear it through our staff. And I want to go back to what he said about that 7% range. It was probably not our favorite thing to do. I think we all agreed at the council, and we were not as strong as we could have been to say that, and I believe staff is different from police. And the 7% across the board was not our favorite thing. It was more than they were hoping, because when they brought it to us, they were hoping for about 3.5 or higher. The minimum was 7. So it actually was a lot higher. However, when we were doing this and we were giving them their raises, it would have been a lot better, and it would have been more of something I would have pursued to give them a lot higher, because I believe that police have a different job than staff. And so 7 was a good start. We're not done. We still have a lot of work to do. And so the best thing to do is, again, bring it to the council. Make sure we're all on the same page. Send it to the accounting person and to the city manager. Find the money. Get this done. It's not a hard thing to do. This particular council wants great police officers. We want to pay them well. We want to keep them. We want to give them everything that they need so that we can be competitive. It's something that can be done with a collaborative council looking forward and making public safety their priority.
Do I have an opportunity?
Sure, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, sir. So look, here's the reality, y'all. 7% wasn't a good start because it wasn't enough. The money was there to give our police officers more for what they needed, and it wasn't done. And if I would have been on council at that time, I wish that I was to be able to make this decision. I would have voiced my opinion, and I would have said, this is not good enough. We need to do more. Maybe I would have been the only person saying that. Maybe not. But I believe that as your next mayor, you need somebody that's going to be a voice for the association, that's going to be a voice for the city employees, that's going to be a voice for the community, that's going to speak up and do the right thing, not just the popular thing. And that's what I'm committed to doing as mayor. Thank you.
Your final question is, what are your thoughts on the leadership of the city of Manvel, and what would you change? And we'll start with Ms. Hay.
Your thoughts on the leadership?
What are your thoughts on the leadership of the city of Manvel, and what would you change?
I am very grateful for the leadership of Manvel. I've been in a very great situation to be able to say that I have sat with this council for a long time. Not very many people have changed. And the idea that not very many people have changed has proven that people didn't come out like they are today. So in 2015, when I was elected in 15, 16, and 17, we got all brand new council, brand new mayor, brand new council. I'm the longest sitting councilwoman right now because we were so quick to change and all of us together came. And with that true leadership, we knew we had to make these changes and get ahead of what was to come. And so since that time that I've sat there, we've only had 2 or 3 seats come in and out. And for a while, we were all unopposed, which was a testament to the fact that we were leading the city correctly. And so the people that are coming in today, 11 seats, 11 people coming up from all over the city. And the great thing about it is that if you speak to all of them, they're not here to overthrow anybody. They're here because they are excited for what we've already done and they want to see it through to the end because they are all visionaries. They all want to see the future. They want to see it realized. They want to put everything in its place and be a part of it. I'm very proud of who we have. And I'm not sure that I would change who I have served with and who I'm serving with today. I would welcome the new voices that are coming in because I just have an opportunity to know that they are wanting better for all of us. And it's an amazing thing to see all that engagement.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Davis?
Just a clarifying question, is this talking in regards to elected leaders or staff leaders?
I'll just read it as I wrote it. What are your thoughts on the leadership of the city of Manvel, and what would you change?
So it's a good question. It really is a good question. So ultimately, the buck stops with city council. City manager reports to city council, and every city employee underneath that reports to the city manager. I've heard from people in the community, look, and there are good things that are happening in the city, but a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people are tired. They're worn out. They feel like government's out to get them. So I think city council, whoever is going to be elected after May 6th, has an opportunity to start doing some things differently. And it first starts with the city manager. You heard mentioned earlier about the city manager's contract. No action was taken on that. It wasn't voted down. It wasn't voted for, which means that after May, whoever gets elected will have a decision to make on the city manager contract. And to anybody that's out there saying that, oh, we didn't vote to extend the contract, the question I would ask is, okay, if you voted no to the extension, why is that person still employed with the city? But here's my opinion. I think I want every city employee to be successful at their job because their success is our success. And I think there are some amazing things that are happening in the city that we need to support. But at the same time, from a city staff standpoint, we need to make sure that we have the right people there. So I want to equip the city attorney, the city secretary, the police chief, the city manager, development services. I want them to be equipped to be successful. But at the same time, city council, we've got to have those tough conversations. We got to make sure that we as a council and also city staff are being held accountable to the people first and foremost. And so I think there's some good things that are happening. I think that the overall, what I've heard, the customer service aspect of the city, how we respond to the community can be improved. And I'm committed to working on some of those areas. Thank you.
All right. Well, you made it to the end of our questions from the Manvel Police Association. Congratulations. Each candidate, like I mentioned earlier, will be given 2 minutes to close, and we'll start with Ms. Henn.
Thank you. So this is very stressful. I'm so grateful that I have somebody in here that we can talk the same about how we got here, what we want to do, and that you are very well read, like we both are, like really in deep with what we need to do for the city to keep it moving forward. So I'm grateful to have Mr. Davis here with me, if anybody. So I have been doing this for a really long time, 8 years in, and I would have been termed out however this position and this situation came in front of me. And it is necessary for me to use not only what I have built, but what this council and everybody has built together to keep us going. I listened to them then. We're still doing those things now. I'm going to continue to listen moving forward. I still listen today. And that is why we keep going in the great methodical fashion that we're going in to make sure that every bit of needs get met in the city so that when we're looking out to the future, we have planned, we're ahead, and we know what's coming. I believe that not only do we have to take care of and consider who's here, we have to plan for who's coming. It is a reality. It will not only be just us. So every bit of, especially public safety, considering our audience, we need to make absolutely sure you have everything you need. This council will do it, and with me as a leader, we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, Mr. Davis.
Well, again, like I said at the beginning, thank you so much to everybody who's been involved in putting this on today, the honorees for providing us food, to the association, to the other candidates, to Miss Lorraine as well for being here. My dad is my hero. He's somebody that I look up to and I strive to be like every single day. And one of the things that he taught me is what he would say to me is he said, Dan, if you want to trust me with more, if you want me to trust you with more, you've got to show that I can trust you with what's right in front of you. So there was a time where I wanted to start mowing the yard like my dad mowed the yard. And he said, well, let's first focus on the flower bed, taking care of the flower bed first. Then let's get you, you'll graduate and you'll start, using the weed eater and doing the edging. And then the next thing, then you can finally start riding the mower and you can start doing that. And that same principle applies for Manvel. I think we need to show that we can take care of what's right in front of us before we can take care or even prepare to take care of what's yet to come. Look, y'all, I believe that Manvel has an incredibly bright future. There are so many opportunities ahead of us, and I'm truly excited about that. But it's going to take all of us working together to make that happen. During my 3 years on council, working with Mayor Davison, working with others, working with the community, we were able to accomplish things that I'm very proud of. But there's still a lot of work left to do. And so to each and every one of you that are here today in person and that are going to be watching online after this, I hope that you'll be involved. I hope that you'll get engaged and that you'll come out to vote. You can find more about me on my website, dandavisjr.com. I'm also on Facebook, and I'm very accessible. Call me anytime, 936-230-0869. I appreciate y'all, and I truly believe the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you to both candidates for being here. Like I mentioned earlier, the best voters are informed voters, and thank y'all for helping us in that process. It's quite clear from both your questions and your responses that the voters have a very difficult decision to make. Good luck to both of you. Thank you.